Hello and welcome. Thursday night, Thursday evening. It's time for Puro Sabor. It's the virtual Puro Sabor 2021. And today's topic is the technology and innovation component. We had so many interesting discussions. We had so many inspiring guests for this virtual show and the virtual festival of Nicaraguan cigars. And we're taking things a little further and to the next level in terms of ingenuity, inspiration, and innovation. And who better to be the guest for this special show than the one and only Fred Vandermarliere from Oliva Cigars and Che Cortez. Fred, it is my pleasure and honor to have you back and light them up and to welcome you back to the show and to Pure Sabor 2021. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
With pleasure. Nice seeing you back, and happy to be back in the lounge. It feels like coming back home.
It certainly does. And Fred, obviously you were our first ever guest to be at the Light 'em Up Lounge. And we find each other in a sort of a new setting with the Pure Sabor. But it's exciting to have you back, and I can't wait for today's conversation and everything that you will be sharing with us concerning the innovative side of the cigar industry. And of course, I would love to welcome my dear brother of the Leaf, my dear friend, fellow, and host of the show tonight, the one and only Ride from the Leaf Masters over in Dubai. Welcome, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. What an honor. Yes, I do remember the first session we had on Light 'em Up, and it was unbelievable. Fred, it's always a pleasure. It's always an honor. It's always a joy to be with you. We're so looking forward for a session that's full of knowledge, full of insight. And what better to do than to get right down to it, right? And I'm gonna hit it with our first question. Fred, you're definitely the person to know that this is an industry that leans on a lot of heritage, a lot of craftsmanship, and centuries of knowledge that's passed on from generation to the other. And the natural question for somebody that's been in this industry for so long, on multiple generations, is where does innovation and technology fit in all this formula? Does it really have a place in the whole cigar industry, in your opinion?
Look, I mean, I think good evening, everyone, and nice to see you all as well. I think, yeah, sorry for the flags in the background, but it's still European Soccer Championships. So sometimes this place is a soccer supporting place. Sometimes it's a smoking lounge. But coming back to your question, I think technology, innovation, data, I mean, call it whatever you want. It's not a natural marriage. You know, I mean, I think we're not made out of it. We're essentially and basically still a natural product that gets, I mean, it's pure basic out of nature and out of the earth and out of the fantastic leaves and the great things we do with that leaf. At the other hand, I don't think that a cigar would be a cigar as it is today if everything would have stayed the same as it was before. I think when the Indians smoked tobacco 300-400 years ago, I don't think that fermentation was part of it. And at a certain day, the innovation of that day was fermentation, and it brought the cigar into a better product. I think that plenty of innovations have happened in the last centuries on our product, and a lot of them disappeared because they didn't make sense and they weren't an added value. But some of them stayed, and at a certain moment, somebody put a ring around a cigar. Wow. That was an innovation, putting a ring around the cigar. Now, it's very difficult to find cigars nowadays without a ring. So that was for me, I mean, those are all kind of innovations that one day happened and that stayed on. So to say that innovation does not go with our product is, in my opinion, something wrong to tell, because I think that you always need, in a certain way, people who want to think in a different way to try out things and to see what works. And but everybody has to be aware that, yeah, those things, I mean, some of them stay and some of them go.
You couldn't have put it better. If I may just dwell a bit more on that one. For you, innovation and technology is pretty much the same, correct? Or would you split them differently?
Yeah, but I think we, today, we're 21st century. Of course, we use technology for innovation, you know, so technology is maybe a methodology that we take with us for that innovation. If you look to the other side, I mean, I don't think that you have to think about technology to be the solution. It has to be something that helps you to bring that innovation. But you don't have to let yourself, I mean, I'm a non-believer in e-cigars, a non-believer. I really don't believe that an e-cigar or that an electronic product will one day really replace our product, how good that technology can be. I do think that technology can bring in new ideas or new ways of working so that we can maybe make our product better in a certain way.
Okay.
Or more consistent. Because sometimes we think about cigars and for us cigars seem like products that are, yeah, I mean, a Melanio that you smoke today, it seems logical that that cigar is tasting the same like the Melanio of 2014 when it was elected like best cigar of the world. Well, I think the challenge, I mean, making new cigars is very difficult. Blending great cigars is very, very difficult. It's something which is, I mean, needs a lot of perfection, and you need to try out plenty of things to come to great blends. Once you have a great blend, to keep that blend up to the same level, I wouldn't say as difficult, but I mean, it's close by, you know. It's very, very, very tough to have your cigars consistent if you know that every year again, you have to bring in a new seed into the soil, and with that seed, I mean, make your plant bigger, pick your leaves, bring them into fermentation, sort them, roll them into cigars, bring them to granel, and then pack them. So there are plenty of things that can happen in that procedure that are very, yeah, I mean, that can go wrong. So that can bring your product into a different product. And I think today what we try at Oliva at least is to, of course, continue to try to find new blends. That's one side. But at the other hand, make sure that the core of everything, what the Olivas did, what we got, the gem that we got, make sure that it consistently, I mean, lights up like it lit up the days that it was made for the first time. And technology.
Sorry, you were saying.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
No, nothing. I just wanted to say that I actually had 2 Melanios today. And today I had finally I had the honor of trying the Maduro Robusto. Oh my God, what a concept, brilliant cigar, just to the point. And I can sit and talk about that for a couple of hours on its own. So over to you, Reinhard.
Fred, I think that true innovation is a rare thing. And we sometimes get a little mixed up also with our language and terminology, because we think about iteration, innovation, and even true disruption. And I believe we all experienced various stages of those terms and those concepts over the last couple of years, and in particular the last year. What in your opinion is the essence of innovation anyways, and the true nature of the ingenuity that at some point can even turn into disruption?
It's late at night, and that's a tough question. No. I look, for me, there are different. You have the I don't know, 25, 50, whatever steps you have in making a little seed into the final box and cigars that you have. And in every step, you can think about innovation and iteration, or things that can make it disruptive. Sometimes if you think about the growing of the leaves, we're forced by nature, I mean, to think in innovative ways. If you think about all the seeds that are grown now, the Criollo 98, 99, I mean, Habano 2000, everything that you see around, you everywhere see years that are after 97, I mean, 96. They are all based on the blue mold that came at one point in time into the tobacco fields. It is at that step, I mean, it was forced by nature that we needed something to make sure that our plants were resistant to those diseases. That's innovation, you know, I mean, that is, yeah, it is disrupt. I mean, it was the outside world that made it disruptive, you know, I mean, that made it so special. Are we in a world that is truly, I mean, that where innovation can be truly disruptive? I think less. That's what I said before with the e-cigar. You know, I mean, Uber disrupted the taxi driving. Booking.com or Airbnb disrupted the hotel industry. The digital cameras disrupted the photography industry. Kodak, I mean, doesn't exist anymore because of disruption of innovation. I don't think that true innovation can really disrupt our industry so much that companies like ours and many others who are really close to tradition will cease to exist. If you look into a broader perspective, you can look into nicotine consumption. And if you look into nicotine consumption in a broader perspective, there I think disruption is really happening and is really a part that, yeah, in the future, you know, I mean, will surely continue to be disruptive. Heat non-burn products or e-cigarettes or things that you see around that are true alternatives for people who just look for the nicotine kick. I think we're part of that nicotine side, of course, because we work with tobacco, but we are a product that is made, I mean, for enjoyment. We're also in the cookie industry. In the cookie industry, you see, we make real butter cookies. It's not healthy neither to eat real butter cookies. And there were many disruptive things like the margarine invention that really made the butter cookie industry, I mean, almost, I mean, a dead industry. But there was a niche that survived with true butter cookies. And I believe when you see smoking, I mean, because, I mean, or enjoying nicotine by burning tobacco, I believe that 100 years from now, people will still burn tobacco to enjoy nicotine. And in that sense, I think that true disruptive, I mean, innovation is something that is less of a danger or something that we as an industry will really face. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more with what you said, and to put a bit more meat to the bone, if you will. You mentioned the issues with blue mold, for example, as a necessity to come up with an innovative spin to keep the fire alive. Yet, since with Puro Sabor, we're talking about everything that has been going on with the Nicaraguan cigar scene in particular, and how Nicaragua has evolved as now the #1 manufacturing country of handmade premium cigars. Did you have particular moments where you felt like Nicaragua as a country, as an origin, with its people and heritage and culture has truly inspired you to go out and come up with new concepts, new ideas, and innovative ideas?
I think that Nicaragua is an innovation on itself. The Nicaraguan cigars were innovative and are where they are now because they could bring at a certain moment what other parties couldn't bring. They really brought back, and of course, I mean, I mean, almost everything came of the Cubans, of course, I mean, who flew out of Cuba and came to Nicaragua, but they found a country that was, first of all, this has nothing to do with the people, but more with the land, had the fertile lands, had the volcanoes, had the weather conditions, had everything that they needed, I mean, to grow great tobacco, but also had, I mean, people inside who were ready to work along and to also make it better day by day. What I think that Nicaragua brings is enthusiasm of a population that is there to really be willing to give the people who smoke cigars fantastic cigars, and that always, I mean, idea to make it better, to try to, I mean, to accept also. I mean, that's also important in my opinion. What I believe that Nicaraguans have a lot in their selves is to listen to comments they get. If people get in and they come into Nicaragua, I feel when, I mean, even we, you know, I mean, we're Belgians who finally ended up there. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things that Nicaraguans knew, we don't know, and we don't know, or we didn't know before. Some things were ideas that we brought in. And what is fantastic is that you have, I mean, plenty of people there who are ready to listen, who are ready to evaluate these options and are ready to try them out and say like, okay, we never tried it, why not? And in, I mean, not to name countries or sources or whatever, but you have areas where you have less of that openness for new ideas. And the fact that they were open for these new ideas, open to learn, open to get better, really made Nicaragua and the Nicaraguan cigar industry what it is today. So, like I said, you know, for me, it's an innovation on its own because you see that people understand it or willing to learn or willing to get better. And in that sense, I mean, come where they are.
I think you could not have given credit to Nicaragua better by calling it an innovation on its own. And I think it's amazing of you to come up with saying something like this. And I thank you for that. But if I may, Fred, zoom in a bit more and talk about the whole concept of digitalization and how this was a buzzword that everybody was talking about, how everything is going to be digitalized. And I cannot help but to think about how will you as a manufacturer and eventually how will Pasionados benefit from the whole process of digitalization in the cigar industry. I know that from your end, you've done a couple of things that are very on the edge or advanced as far as getting technology and digitalization, again, if I may use the word again, in the business. But how do you see yourself more benefiting from this, if you can give us a bit of light on what you've been doing and for us as the consumers to benefit from that?
As a consumer to benefit from that, I think at the end of the day, you want to have great cigars. And we have to make sure that these cigars are great and stay great. So everything that we brought in the last years in terms of digital presence or digitalization are things that were always focusing specifically on having, I mean, doing things to make sure that the cigar is better or is at least more consistent from one cigar to another, from 1 year to another, from 1 year to 5 years later. And there are different examples. I mean, that of course I'm ready to highlight and to open up to the scene today that we brought in. The first one, which is one that I mean I'm quite proud about, you know, I mean, and that we're happy about to share with you all. And MJ is together with Ernesto in the Pilon area, is that Pilon area. Like I said before, at a certain day, people started fermenting tobacco. I don't know the exact date when it happened, but when it happened, they found out that when you're fermenting tobacco, you get your cigar into better shape. The taste is better, your tobacco gets really a rounder taste, and you have the annoying greenish, hayish tastes that tobacco can have when you burn it crudely, or when it's dry tobacco, when you non-fermented tobacco, when you smoke it and you smoke fermented tobacco, you feel immediately the difference. Now, fermentation is a very important process in your whole cigar making. I mean, I think everybody even as a smoker, I mean, most of them are aware. If you see how that fermentation process goes, it is a natural process. It is the tobacco that does his work. It's only water and tobacco, and putting tobacco on a pile, and the pressure and the tobacco together, that makes that tobacco heats up, and that the chemical process of fermentation happens. What is crazy to me is that during all these years, we also got innovation in there. Instead of feeling by hand, at a certain moment, people put a thermometer inside to measure the temperature, or a temperature reader inside to measure the temperature of the pilon. And they take it out, they see the temperature, and out of experience, you know that this type of tobacco needs that type of temperature. And when you go above that temperature, you burn your tobacco. When you stay below and you switch your pilon too quick, it didn't do the job. So it's really experience that brought us to a level where we knew at what moment do we have to turn the pilon and what do we need to do. Now, what happens if you have a room with 2 pilons? You can follow them fantastically. If you have a room with 50 or 75 pilons, you are sometimes too late. You sometimes have pilons, I mean, that maybe are over fermented a bit. Sometimes it works as well. I mean, I know manufacturers that really go always a little bit over the top. I know manufacturers who stay a little bit below. It's also a philosophy at a certain day what you want to do. But keeping that level always to the same level where you want to have it is very difficult. Well, digitalization for us was a big, big game changer. When I walked around, and it's not me only, you know, I mean, it's of course a challenging you do together with the people who are working there for many years. You imagine that taking out a thermometer, reading the temperature, putting a dot, making the graph yourself, showing how the evolution of the temperature is, that is something that is, okay, happening in that pilon. And if you do it day by day, you see what the evolution is, and you can imagine that in 2-3 days, yeah, you're at the right temperature. But sometimes that tobacco is reacting differently than you thought. And maybe it goes a little bit quicker than you thought, or a little bit slower. So following up that is a huge, work. So you have to read it, you have to note it down, and then you have to make sure that everybody who takes the decision to turn the pilon knows it in the right time.
Yep.
We have been discussing and talking about it, and we said, like, what if we put a digital temperature reader inside your pilon? And that temperature reader is connected to the internet or to the Wi-Fi or whatever, or Bluetooth, but to a server. And it's sending every 10 minutes signal what the temperature is. We're now working only with temperature. We're doing tests with temperature and humidity so that you have both inside. Imagine that that information is coming up all day long. You can immediately see if you have, say, this type of tobacco needs 110 Fahrenheit to be turned around. Yeah, it's an automatic system. It makes your life so much easier. The stress of over fermenting is almost gone because you receive an SMS when it's at 107, and you receive an alarm. It calls you when it's at 109 or 110. When we started with it, little side story that was quite funny. Our responsibles of the Pilon area were all really, I mean, getting frustrated and had a bad family life, because at night when they were together with their wife in bed, they got plenty of SMSs of the Pilons who were telling them that they were at 110 or 115 degrees Fahrenheit. And okay, they had to turn them. That didn't work, because I don't think it really, we're talking about minutes, but we changed the system a little bit, so the night hours they were not waking up, but in the morning they know immediately, guys, we have to go to Pilon number 72, Pilon number 56, Pilon number 50. You have an immediate reaction that you can do, and the focus is there, and you can, you avoid a lot of mistakes that at the end of the day you will not taste it that much in your cigar, but it are, I think that small things, if you add them up, get big as well. So if you have all small things under control, you know, you really have your consistent, great product out there. So the digital thermometer or a temperature reader inside your Pilon is something that we do now in the Pilons of our wrapper. We don't have them of the filler area yet. Right? We're, we run them out over there, and we have a big screen where you can see the temperature of every Pilon, but you also see the evolution. And now think with me, right? I mean, imagine that you have all that data for 5-6 years of certain seeds that are picked, I mean, on certain plant positions, and you see the evolution of every Pilon over there. How much better can you then make it by, with that data, I mean, knowing how much water you have to spray on there. Now we spray water, but maybe if we do a little bit more or a little bit less, we can make that fermentation process even better. So it's, the data drives us to make that process more controlled and to make that process better. Is the old process a bad one? No. But I think that 20 or maybe 40 years from now, I mean, we will all be, I mean, all these Pilons will be connected. And with that data, we will maybe have new things coming up. We can do trials with tobaccos, and we can see tobaccos that had that type of curve. Why did they have that curve? Where does it come from? Is it, I mean, from what farm did they come? And maybe that those little changes between two Esteli farms or two Condega farms that are very close can maybe give different flavors and can open up innovation again, because you know that with that tobacco curing that way or the other tobacco curing it the other way, it really, really brings a fantastic, I mean, yeah, new flavor or new thing into your cigar. So one thing is gathering the data, putting these temperature readers inside, helping people by just giving them technology to do their job in a better way. Another thing is that maybe later on, those things can really help to bring in new things, new flavors, new types of fermentation as well. The height of the Pilon, I mean, there is always a discussion, you know, how high does it have to be good? Do you have to start with half ones, you go to double ones? I mean, when do you do that? Those are all things we all do out of experience, which is very important. Knowledge is very important, and it's the basis of everything. But having that knowledge, I mean, connected to data proof that is in there is something that I believe can really, disruptive is a big word, but can really help to make it different or to make it more special than others. And I don't know, I mean, MJ and Ernesto are there. I mean, if you want, or if the guys want, they can surely show you, I mean, in the Pilon area, how it works, how it looks like, and how it is. So maybe now or later on, I'll leave it up to you, but we can surely.
We would, I think I speak on behalf of everybody, would love to see it.
MJ, Ernesto, you can unmute yourself.
We are ready.
Excellent.
Okay.
MG is always ready, eh?
Yeah, unbelievable.
Hello, guys. This is our Pilon area, where we are fermenting our wrapper. And this is the so-called Pilon, where you have tobacco fermenting. to reach the desired level. And instead of a thermometer, or on top of the thermometer, we also have those new sensors. And those are the ones shooting every X minutes information to the database. Database, as we can see it on a chart basis, we can download Excel files, we can analyze the data and find out the correlations for future more control of the process. But the process itself doesn't change. You have to moisten your tobacco, you have to watch your temperature, you have to make it at a certain hay to ensure a good fermentation process. But you do not just rely on that. You also come and check your tobacco on a traditional way. And then you feel
Look at that.
how it is working. And so far working nicely.
Send us some of the aromas too while you're at it.
No, you can suffer. Yeah. And what Fred was just mentioning, that we receive messages, and as you can see quite often, what the state of X belong. So platform 26 is alarming you or warning you that it's at 108, which is not critical, but it's an indication that you need to watch it. Same we receive by email, by telephone call, and it doesn't matter what time.
So
that's the sensor Fred was talking about.
Wonderful. That's the smell we want to smell.
That's amazing. That's amazing. It's amazing that you're giving us insight and giving us access to this kind of intricate details, Fred, and we really, really, really appreciate that. I'm sure you're very active in other technologies that are in the process, and I don't want to be pushy and ask you about more on that front. But what I do want to ask you is something that's very interesting. You're a father yourself, and one of the greatest way that we encourage our kids to learn is by mistakes. Do you feel that there is a limit? When do you draw a line and you say, enough, this is enough technology as it is? When do you say, I don't want technology to rule me, I want the chance and the opportunity to give me more experience? Yes, technology does give you data. It provides you with the ability to draw what do they call them? Not curves, but rather sort of insight as to how things should act. When do you draw the line about enough innovation or information?
For me, the moment that innovation or that technology decides, it always have to stay a tool. It always, I mean, and it makes me think, I mean, Koenraad also posed a question on the chat on where do you find, or how do you find the sweet spot to modernize, but not too much? I mean, it's a thin line, and it's a difficult balance, you know. I mean, you don't want to become a tech company, you know. You're at the end of the day a cigar manufacturer and premium cigar manufacturer. So you really have to find that balance. And I know that compared to others, we're maybe more techie than others, which doesn't mean that, I mean, in our opinion, it helps to make our cigars better and more consistent and whatever. But I think that for me, the big line is Ernesto was showing, you know, I mean, exactly what we do with it. We use it. It's technology that helps us, that helps us to do the right, to take the right decisions at the right time. But the decisions are still taken not by the computer, but by the people who are there and the people who have the experience. Because that technology, again, you know, I mean, it can think that it knows when tobacco is ready to turn. It can, I mean, show that by showing data. But if everyone in that area, and if we all together see like, no, come on, I mean, maybe the data shows that it's ready to turn, but if you smell it, you know, I mean, you feel that it's not ready to turn, or if you feel the tobacco and the moisture and everything that goes around, you think like, no, it needs 2 more days, then we will keep it 2 more days. And I really don't want that technology, you know, I mean, is taking over and that people are taking decisions because the technology says that they have to take that decision. No, we have to take the decisions at the right time when we feel and we know that it is the right time, not when the technology says it is the right time.
Maybe as a follow-up question to that, Fred, and going back to what you were describing with the data that provides you with such interesting insights, and the like taking all that data together, in other industries now people are thinking about codes of ethic in terms of how do you use data, how to use that resource in a most appropriate and delicate way. Do you think something like this should probably also apply to the cigar industry, or should the industry at large maybe think about how can we all think about innovation and technology as a helping hand, but without overshadowing the tradition and what's always been there? So kind of as a follow-up to Rad's question.
I understand your question. I think code of conducts are important as industries, not to do things that can really ruin the industry or that are really wrong. You know, I mean, I think a code of conduct on child labor on the field is a natural one that, I mean, we have, and that we should really underline that we have. Code of conduct of fighting to have less pesticides and trying to keep our land natural is something that we all should underscribe to make our fields, to keep them healthy, but also to make sure that our children and grandchildren can still smoke cigars, and that the soil is not dead because we overacted on the soil. So in that sense, I believe that code of conduct, I mean, are really important. If I think about that technology, or I mean those things, I'm also not a real fan of putting too much rules on what is right or what is wrong. I think that a market or a smoker, I mean, at the end of the day, of a cigar, somebody who enjoys his product will decide, I think, for us. So, I mean, if for whatever reason we or someone else, I mean, brings in really disruptive things, and the cigar smoker enjoys that new feature or that thing that is coming in, what can we say that it's good or bad? You know, I mean, it's something that is taken up by a cigar smoker. And I think that the fact that we work with natural leaves and we only have water and tobacco in our cigars makes that, in my opinion, when people will go too far, they will be punished, in my opinion, by the end consumer, who will say like, hey, this is not the product that I know. This is not a product that I respect. This is not a product that I love. So making a kind of code of conduct and to what technology is acceptable or not is, in my opinion, very difficult. And in my opinion, you should not, as an industry, limit, I mean, innovation, if you call it that way. You should be open that people try to innovate, and people will innovate more, and people will innovate different, and people will try out plenty of things. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, those things, I mean, are accepted or not accepted by the end consumer, and he's finally the decision maker if something works or not. So no, in my opinion, I'm not a believer that the camera, or I mean, that we as manufacturers should watch out. Yeah, again, you know, I mean, when you talk about technology and handmade cigars, and they take away the handmade part, I think you're totally wrong. If they take out the part of what is a cigar, I think you're totally wrong. You know, I mean, those are things that there are some things that are, in my opinion, untouchable, where you can try to do whatever you want, but this is not the way you do it. I mean, the fact that cigars exist for 300-400 years the way they exist means that there are core things that are really, really important, but also very good, so that you don't need to change them. If you look to the innovation we did, it's always around the cigar. It's never inside. And if we look and evaluate technological evolution, it's always in that around and never in the inside.
Beautiful. And to give all our dear viewers and everybody who's here with us at the lounge a little glimpse into that world, we have a wonderful video that I would like to share with you.
Here in the heart of Nicaragua, people have been cultivating cigars for over 130 years. That's over 4 generations of people, and a lot of cigars, my friend. Now, there's been a lot of changes lately here at Oliva Cigars. But then again, if you'd ask Ernesto, he would probably say it's just business as usual. And he's right, you know, because for the last 3 years we've been doing what we've always been doing. Still opening new factories and using that as a perfect excuse to have a little party on the side. We're still passing on knowledge from father to son and from mother to daughter in a land where the women know just as much about cigars as the men. God, I love this country. We are still planting seeds for the future, the same way we've done in the past, nurturing the little things so that one day they can be part of the big things. We're still teaching our people to aim higher than they are tall, so they can discover how pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. We're still hard-working, and yes, sometimes hardly working. But hey, if tobacco leaves get to rest, why shouldn't we, right? And sure, we've updated our procedures into the digital age, just not too much. No one wants to smoke a digital cigar, my friend. Trust me. And you know, we've been improving our production lines since 1886, from harvesting leaves and rolling them to perfection, to turning raw materials into boxes that are just as elegant as the cigars they hold, right down to the smallest detail. And yes, with a tiny little bit of help from Senor Fredje, I must admit. So you see, my friend, things change, while they stay exactly the same as they have always been. To be honest, we are amazed that such a long and rich history still fits in such a small box. So if anyone tells you it's business as usual at Oliva, that means we're probably busy enjoying what we enjoy best, making cigars, and sampling a few along the way. Because if there's one thing we learned from our ancestors, it's that the secret of a good cigar is not only in its ingredients, but just as much in the person who appreciates it. That's why we say, don't smoke them, but enjoy them.
What a wonderful way to communicate all these different aspects that we were talking about, Fred, and the fine balance between the innovative components and the more traditional ones. In general, with everything that's going on in the world in terms of change, innovation, disruption, whatever you want to call it, we live in a very fast-paced world, that's for sure. Do you think the cigar is the perfect product in particular for this accelerated world?
Yes. As a deconnector, we are the best products you can have to avoid burnouts. And again, I mean, I didn't find him yet, and if somebody in the rooms know him, let me know. But I'm still looking for the brain doctors in the house, the neurologists that can help us to prove that your brain is calming down by smoking a cigar for an hour, and brain, let's say, speed is going up when you're checking your social media. I think that today, if you see the speed of life, it's at a never seen speed. I think we all calmed down to that. I mean, that speed tremendously because of the COVID years we have just passed behind us or still living in. And I truly believe, and that's what we also see in general, is that people, even non-smokers, started enjoying a great cigar. And I'm a strong believer that that we have to continue, I mean, to focus on that. We do not sell cigars. We sell 1 hour of pleasure. We sell 1 hour of deconnection. And that's what I often say. I mean, ask it to MJ and Ernesto here, or to the rest of the crowd and Nika. I mean, often I say, like, look, I mean, for you, it's maybe another cigar you roll, but what you roll now is 1 hour of pleasure for a person. And if you ruin that hour of pleasure because of the quality of your cigar is not as good, you ruined that person 1 hour of deconnection. And that's truly very important, because if the time goes so quick and you only take 1 hour of that deconnection, you really want to enjoy your product. And it's a measure of quality we really want to achieve with our products, because we want to make sure that when people then light them up in the lounge, that they really feel like, wow, you know, I mean, I'm now, I mean, I can open up my brains, I can think about other things, I can really calm down. And I mean, more and more we will need it. You will see in the modern hospitality world, and innovation in hospitality goes more and more into deconnection. Well, our product is the perfect product in that world. So I don't think that we follow that pace in terms of speed of smoking. I just think that we have to stay where we are and really show the value of that 1 hour of deconnection, I mean, to everybody who's enjoying a cigar.
The biggest 1 hour of deconnection, I mean, to share a little story that I have, is the other day, my daughter is trying to convince me with something. And obviously I had just come back from work and I'm on the edge, and I said, no. And Dana knows me very well, my wife. When I come back home, she has a cigar waiting for me outside just for me to relax. And I was hearing what my daughter is telling her, and Dana, my wife, was saying, how do you want me to convince him with something like this? She's like, I don't know, give him a cigar or something. You know? So that in itself says it all. But I couldn't agree more. Yeah. But I want to go back to the video, and honestly, I've seen this video so many times. The level of detail, the wittiness, the vividness of the colors or anything, and everything in that. It was an amazing production. And if there's a cigar video award, if you may, I think that can be one of the top contenders for that.
The Oscar of cigar movies.
Oscar of cigars. There you go. There you go. Fred, you mentioned several game changers. You've mentioned several changes that have impacted the industry over the years. From your family experience and your multi-generation experience as far as the industry is concerned, what can you think with us have been game changers as far as you're concerned, whether positive or negative? And what do you see the game changes are in the future from your perspective? I mean, is something like track and trace considered a game changer as far as you're concerned? Is that part of the innovation, or is that considered a negative innovation? I'm curious to hear your feedback about something like this.
I saw track and trace also passing by from Conrad. Yeah.
I was inspired by Conrad with that question, to be fair to him.
Yeah, well done. I mean, I think that is, for me, that's a negative game changer. I mean, it's a negative game changer in a sense that what we want is a humidor shop full of good cigars. We want to make sure that people, when they go to Dubai, to Brussels, or to Miami, they can enter the shop and they can really have a choice between different great cigars. And the fact that you have a lot of competition in every segment of the market, wherever you are, and surely in our industry, competition and having different cigars in that humidor helps each other. I mean, having every year another best cigar of the year, having every year new cigars coming out, having every year new things popping up. It's all about competition that keeps each other sharp. Now, track and trace is something that in Europe it will enter in a couple of years. It's something that unfortunately can make that competition less big because it can close out, I mean, a lot of people in the industry to enter a market. The level, I mean, the burden of entering a market becomes higher and higher because of legislation coming in. And if that burden becomes higher, small markets, even if you look to, I mean, to your market, right? I mean, if you look to the Emirates and you see what is happening in terms of legislation, it's always a battle and a hassle for you all to make sure that you can bring in the number of products in that country. We see it in Europe as well. In small countries, sometimes you see that the level of choice of different cigars is getting smaller because some people say like, why should I mean, send cigars to Northern Macedonia? I mean, about 15 boxes and doing all the work for that. If you add on track and trace to that, and you need to do that out of Nicaragua into the legislation that Europeans wanted, you really kill, I mean, innovation, and you kill variety of products. How do we see it? I think that we are based here with I mean, I live here, let's say that way, and we still have production here and we still have distribution here. So we are in there, so we need to do it. We don't have a choice. It's a pain in the ass, sorry for the word, but it's really something that we hate to do. And that is really negative energy because you feel that it does not bring anything positive towards the end consumer of your cigar. Track and trace is there for the only reason that they want to avoid smuggling of tobacco products. Cigars are non-smuggled, or maybe some are smuggled, but okay, not into the level that it's really disturbing markets or that it's bringing young people into smoking. When you talk about cigarettes, smuggling can maybe bring in 2 young people into smoking because a pack of cigarettes costs 10 euro in France and a Polish pack only costs 5 euro. So thanks to the smuggling, people can buy cigarettes again at 5 euro. We're in a total different market. And that's the day-by-day discussion we have with governments to say like, hey guys, we're different. We don't have the same type of smokers. Very difficult to convince them. And I mean, in a certain way, it even didn't work because, I mean, we have it. What do I want to do? I want to make sure that, I mean, my Nicaraguan colleagues who maybe don't have that presence in Europe, who don't have the power to do that, have the ability still to distribute in Europe. As such, we made ourselves a kind of distribution point for not only our products, but also other people's products. I don't sell them. I will never. I mean, I don't sell, let's say, I mean, other people's cigars because I think it's very difficult to really do a great job. And maybe if we do, it's in more an exceptional basis. But I truly believe that, I mean, helping people to be able to distribute to different countries helps at the end of the day, the cigar smoker, our end client. And if he is able to enjoy different things, and then we have to make sure to make great cigars so that he picks ours in that list. So it can be a game changer because it can really I mean, demotivates people to go into certain markets. And if it does, and you only have a handful of players in certain markets, it's a very negative evolution, so a negative game changer. Now, if you turn it around and you try as a company to help companies and people to survive in that world, and we're not the only ones here, we're not the only pope here. I know that other people in Europe do the same thing, and I'm very happy. I don't do this to win money, you know. I mean, we will not pay off our investments because of that, but I truly do it because I really believe that having a room or a shop with a lot of cigars really helps a lot for people to enjoy cigars and learn to enjoy cigars. You have to be able to show people different products. And then, like I said, you have to make sure that you stand out there and that your quality is consistent and good so that people come back to your product. So unfortunately, we live in a world where the World Health Organization is, not really our biggest friend and is signing, or asking for countries to ratify their FCTC, Tobacco Control Act. And if you read that act, Nicaragua is normally, even forced to go into track and trace by 2028. Now, all these things could be very negative game changers. I mean, we're fighting a lot, and I think we will be able to avoid it, for our products. But I think it's important that people who enjoy cigars are aware that those things that seem as no big problems are truly huge problems for people in the industry. And in the US, you see the same thing. Luckily, by doing the job and by talking to people, we could avoid that a lot of FDA regulation came in. But imagine that the first FDA ruling was really, and to the last word was heavily put in practice. It would have been a killing thing for our industry, because that grandfathering idea is the worst you could have, because you kill innovation, you kill new products coming in. And those are really things that I think nobody, in our world is really willing to have. So,
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, please, Fred, continue.
Well, I was concluding the same thing like I said before. This is talking at 12 o'clock after 3 bottles of wine. You sometimes say the same thing twice. So I don't say right at 2 o'clock at night, it's
yeah. I'm still on it.
Right, breakfast is the most important drink of the day. You know that.
I know. Liquid breakfast.
Question from Rich Lai, who's here with us. Welcome, my dear friend, and thanks for your question.
Thank you, Reinhard. And Fred, thanks for your enlightening discussion on innovation in the industry. I don't know a lot about the Cortez company, but from what I do know, you're based in Belgium. And, which if I look at Europe, it's predominantly a Cuban market, and you're buying a Nicaraguan cigar manufacturer in 2016. Are you finding ways of introducing or gaining some of the market share from the Cuban smokers in Europe?
Well, I can't say this too loud, but we're not with too many. The Cubans helped us a bit. You had certain years where the availability of the product was not the way it should be, so people were forced to try out other things. At the other hand, I also feel that it's a generational thing. I compare it a lot with wines. When my father drinks wine, he drinks Bordeaux and Bourgogne from France. He will not try a great Barolo or a great, Rioja. No, he's a French wine drinker. Now, if you see the evolution in the wine industry in the last 30, 40 years, people understand that you have great wines in different areas in the world. Well, if I talk to, the older generation, let's say that way, it's very, very difficult to convince them or to let them taste your product. It's very funny. Tonight we had a dinner with a Cuban smoker, who's still buying Cuban cigars, expensive Cuban cigars, and who also said like, yeah, I mean, it's amazing that, I mean, when I buy a box of your cigars, I mean, they all smoke well. They're like, look, I mean, this is how cigars should smoke. And again, I don't want to bash on my colleagues. Again, I mean, they make great cigars as well. But when you ask me the question, frankly, you know, I mean, this is, I think, this is part of it. And secondly, it's a part of young people. We talk about 30 plus people, you know, we don't focus on young people. Otherwise, I mean, it's true that we don't focus on young people, and that's where governments are afraid of. But let's say 30 plus year old people are really willing to explore. They want to know more. They want to see like, what's out there? You know, I mean, you have cigars from different countries in the world. What are the differences? Let me try this. Let me try that. I mean, we have our range where you already can try, I mean, different capas and different flavors and everything that you have, but you have other cigars as well of other countries. Well, let people really, I mean, try it out and let them do it. And you feel that natural interest of people going for that deconnection, going for that high quality enjoyment of tobacco. That is something that is truly, for me, in the millennial generation. You know, I mean, they are in a lot of ways, we're talking cigars here, but you can see that in all different departments of their lives. You know, I mean, not with their mobile phone, there they want the most recent one, but with everything that they eat, drink, live. Look to what holiday evolution is, look to what in our cookie industry, what we see, look what we see in everything which is food and beverage. I mean, people, I mean, yes, when they're younger, maybe you still have the bench drinking, but when they get older, they want to enjoy alcohol in a total different way. Well, this is what cigars is as well in tobacco world. And then you really feel that exploring idea of these guys trying out different things. So I feel, and it's not only Europe, I see it, I mean, worldwide. I mean, Africa, South America, Asia, Europe, US, I mean, has been forced, I mean, to get to know other territories, but the other countries have never been forced, and we never force people to try it or to go for it. But you feel by explaining, by telling the story, by showing everything that you do, by bringing in that, I mean, those things, and that people really get interested and say like, okay, let me try it. And then they find it's like a new world opening. It's like a door that has always been closed. And you think like behind that door, there is something dirty, ugly. You open it, you say like, wow, I mean, this is a wonderful room I never saw before. So I don't know if it answers your question, but I mean, this is how I feel that Europe and the rest of the world, you know, is surely evaluating too. And I never believe that, I mean, one country will come back to what Cuba was before. That will never happen. You know, you will always have evolutions of things happening. Nicaragua is now, I mean, I'm very proud to be in Nicaragua. And I think also, you know, I mean, that today, I mean, if you look to the top cigars, elected cigars in different areas of the world, not only US, Nicaragua has in the last years always been top 10, top 5, top 3, top 1. So that's Nicaragua clearly found the key today. But the worst we could do is think that we are the best and stay seated and say like, we're the best. I'm sure in all the other countries, people are working very, very hard to also bring in complexity and to also bring in different things into their cigars that maybe they didn't have before. So yeah, I mean, I think that evolution will continuously go on, and we will need to stay awake and make sure that our cigars and the things that we do are still in line with what people want, yes, but also, I mean, that our cigars stay as good as they were before, and that we don't sit down, just go for volume, just go for whatever, but that we focus on consistency and on quality of our products.
Wow. He inspired me with a lot of questions, and there was a question I had in mind that I'm about to give, but you know what? I think he should do it himself. Conrad, go ahead. I love what you just said about the fields.
So Fred, MG, what do you want to say?
Yes,
okay.
sorry to interrupt you.
Okay.
Fred, sorry, but people is getting ready to leave production floor, and we want to show you the last innovation thing that we have, and Ernesto will help me.
Yes.
So now on all of our boxes, we have, let me show you the cigars first.
Look at that.
San Melanio Maduro that you can read with your phone. Hold on, Ernesto's phone ends.
There it is.
Thank you. To the history of the roller and buncher of this 10 cigars. There is a little history, and you have the picture and the name of the roller and buncher. And now we're going to see them actually making the cigar. We're in the middle of the production room. They're getting ready to leave. It's 5 o'clock in Nicaragua, so we're getting ready to go home.
I can't wait to make it to that factory. My God.
We're halfway.
You need segues in there, huh?
We're walking.
It's a free sports thing.
We're almost there. Almost there. They're all the way on the front, Fred.
Or the Melanio rollers.
Here they are. They're here. And now here in person. Hola.
Amazing.
And that's it from us.
Thank you, MJ.
Thank you.
And if you looked into the screen that you saw, so thanks for showing that it's real. You know, I mean, that the roleros and moncheros on the picture are the real ones that are still sitting there and rolling the cigars. So it's I think I'm very happy also about that little thing. It's again
just one small thing, Fred. Yesterday was Father's Day in Nicaragua, so we had a raffle of a motorcycle for the fathers.
I saw it on the P&L. But it looks great. I'm happy that it really exists. No, it was a great idea to do. So I hope it was
just really quick, our special corner. Nice. Gilder Senior and Los Jefes.
Oh, wow. Thank you, MJ, as usual.
And with the original table and chair of Don Gilberto still sitting there and watching to see if we really do the things right like we did it before. And now she's entering the room that I hope that you'll all be able to get in one day. Go ahead, MJ.
The most important part of the room. They're always watching. They're always watching. And here we have an exhibition of all of our cigars. This is for our friends. And I hope one day to see you all guys here.
Amazing.
And know that everything has been made by our people over there. So all the woodwork you see has been done by the guys.
Yes, at the box factory.
Yeah, indeed. So the QR code shows who rolled it, what type of tobacco we used, from what field it comes. But the great thing is also that we can keep it alive. So we had a recent update now of that QR code. So, I mean, the QR code stays the same, let's say. I mean, of course, brings in who the people are. But the extra added value we had is that now when you scan it, you can see who was smoking the cigar in the last 24 hours in the world. So you see a map of the world and you see all dots. All these dots are the guys, I mean, who scanned the cigar. It's not, don't worry, it's not, I think it's on 10 kilometers close, so we will not find your house. but it shows a little bit, you know, I mean, it's a little thing. And we also have a kind of comment, you know, so we know what code was in one box. So it's very interesting for us as well when you smoke a cigar and okay, it's still a natural product, things can go wrong. Please give your comments, give your advice. We have a kind of tasting panel type of thing in there so that you can give your points or your ideas on how the cigar tasted. So try it out when you buy a Melanio, scan the code and please fill in the information.
Beautiful, beautiful tour of the factory, and many thanks for providing us with those very precious insights. Before we come to a close of tonight's show, and Fred, we know it's late for you as well, so we want to be most respectful of your precious time. What I would love to know is whether you think that the cigar industry's innovative thinking has always been fueled by a natural resilience that the industry had to prove over the decades in order to overcome all the challenges and the hurdles that we continuously see thrown in our direction.
Can you repeat it? So what's the question exactly?
Do you think that the innovative thinking in the industry is a natural byproduct of the resilience we need to bring to the table because of all the challenges and the hurdles that we have to overcome?
No. But yes, in a certain way. I mean, track and trace is an example where it is. But I think the majority of the innovations that came out of industry came out of the love for the product and the love for the work we do day by day. I mean, you cannot be further away from legislation and from, let's say, challenges, I mean, into a certain way than when you're in Nicaragua. In Nicaragua, you're only with the products. It's you and the tobacco, it's you and the field, and it's you and the box, and it's you and the cigar. And of course, these challenges are the challenges that make you better day by day. Every crop is different. Every weather situation is different. Every cigar is different. So these challenges, yes, make you, I mean, try to innovate or try to get better. But that's not, I mean, that driver to me is more the love for the product than it's really a thing that is maybe facing products, facing problems or things that really come in. I really think it's when you see the people working in our industry, I mean, I think we have fantastic people. I mean, in Nicaragua, everywhere, that are really trying to make the best out of the day-to-day work. And the innovation for me really comes out of that passion for the product. So this drives, in my opinion, everything much more than the negative, let's say, energy that needs to come out of things that you find from government.
Let's conclude with one question.
Sorry, right. I just wanted to follow up on that. I believe, Fred, everything that you said was not only tangible and very much understandable for everybody who followed today's show, but also all of our last Puro Sabor sessions. And I believe it's the quintessence of this entire program, and also the technology and innovation component of it. But it all comes down and it all comes back to the people and the wonderful product that we love.
The beautiful cigars. I'm going to ask one last question. As an industry leader, as an individual, as a father, as a family man, and as a person that wants to take his business to the next level, what inspires you? What do you wake up to in the morning and makes a change in your life? What do you believe is the guiding light that helps you identify this legacy that you've took on and you would like to pass on, survives, strives, and grows? What's your inspiration?
I think you all. I think for me, it's really, I get a lot of energy and a lot of motivation out of people who are enjoying our products. And by talking and having great nights together with you all, it's something that really truly makes you motivated to make sure that the products you make are fantastic and to make sure that your products are even better tomorrow. And that in combination with the challenge to achieve that is, in my opinion, a natural motivation, so that you never work, but you always enjoy your life by going to work.
I second that.
I quickly want to answer. There was one question of Valerie,
Please.
where it was about, is there any chance that tobacco fields of Nicaragua could be threatened by commercial or residential development to end up? Valerie, I think yes and no. Yes, in a certain way, where you see that the city of Esteli is growing, that's a fact, and that land that was before really pure farming land now almost becomes development land. At the other hand, I think that the true love for the tobacco and the fact that people are really living there for cigars and for tobacco avoid it really to happen. Because if you have a fantastic tobacco field and you love your cigars, and that tobacco field can be sold at 10 times the price of what you bought the field for, but you will lose your great tobaccos, you will never sell that field. Padron is a fantastic example of having fields in areas where houses could be built and where he could develop it to have much more money than maybe he gets out of the tobacco he gets out of there. But don't think that they will sell that field and build houses on it. We will keep it as tobacco. So at least we from our side, but also many, many families in the industry will make sure that it doesn't happen and that we can secure the quality and the consistency of our products.
Fred, it's been a tremendous pleasure to share this inspiring session and conversation with you. Thank you for everything that you shared with us. Thank you for your team and all the wonderful people down in Nicaragua who provided us with a little insight into the factory. And as we said before, technology and innovation, they accompany us, and they are now an element of our life that we all have to use for the better of what it is that we do. And ultimately, it's about us coming together, enjoying great cigars together, and whether that's through modern means of technology or just sitting side by side with each other, it's all about the wonderful product. And there's a selfie right there.
Yeah, I think you deserve that one. No, thank you guys. Thanks everyone joining here and maybe seeing this offline at a more, let's say, interesting moment during the day. Thanks for the interest and congratulations. I mean, to the Light Me Up team. I mean, for the way that you all handle this in the different sessions. It has been a great ride with you all. And although we missed being together at Puro Sabor this year in Nicaragua, I mean, I think the thing that you offered to us was a fantastic, fantastic alternative to still stay together and to really, I mean, have the feeling that we're really connected, as that we're real family. Let's say that.
Many thanks, Fred.
100%.
Means a lot. Thank you for a wonderful session. Thank you, Ryan, for hosting another epic session together with me. And to all of you,
my pleasure.
Good night, good evening, good afternoon, or good morning to wherever you are. And thanks for being here with us. And we'll see you all again at the next Light 'em Up show on Puro Sabor. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
See you later. Thank you. Good night.
Goodbye. Sleep well, everybody. Bye.
Yes.